So I decided to come to the field of Mars. I had never been here, yeah, it's quite impressive. I guess I assumed there would be some sort of memorial here, and I'll append or post the inscribed tributes to the revolution, after this video. Yeah, this is like, you could say, I don't know, maybe one of these centers of the February and October revolutions. And the October Revolution, though it was defeated in the end in 1991, when I was a youth, from 1917 here, it inspired, 100 years almost of progress, basically, and even today, as the former Soviet Union has rebelled against these fucking filth of the West, it inspires, you can say the October Revolution, what happened here, November 1917, continues to inspire, the whole globe, minus, some retards in the collective West. Basically, what this revolution was, reading Radkovsky and others, it was basically the dictatorship of the proletariat. That is, not these phony morons and traitors like AOC or, whatever, Kamala Harris, or, the scumbag in London, what's his name, Starmer, and their counterparts on the continent of Europe, Macron, etc. Those were the right SRs, I think, socialist revolutionaries, they call themselves, in an attempt to obfuscate, just like DSA does today, Labor's not fooling too many people, although, the English tend to be more liberal, individualistic, retarded, I guess, than most people in Europe. But anyway, this revolution was basically massive, democratic, authoritarian in the sense that it was led by a revolutionary proletariat and working class and revolutionary intellectuals against the petty bourgeoisie, the kind of reformist, small s socialist, and also monarchist and liberal scum here and internationally. And that's repeated itself basically, this time in the West, or even around here. Yeah, it's a populist, objectively, I guess you could say, a more left populist rebellion compared to the liberals, who basically were traitors, so right-wing social democrats, and then devolved into traitor liberals, and most of the planet hates their fucking guts. And anyway, segueing, I met this old man in a park, I don't know, maybe a few miles from here. It's called Tavrichesky Park, which is where the Petrograd Soviet and the Tsarist Duma was, another center of the revolution, worldwide and in this town. And this old man told me that he was a baby. He was born during the blockade of this city, when it was Leningrad in 1942 to 1945. This place for 900 days was blockaded by the capitalists in the form of German fascists and their allies in Finland. And, 1 million people, the city population here was 3 million approximately, probably right before the war. and then 1 million got the hell out, and then 1 million here starved to death, like mostly children and old people, I guess, as well as adults, sometimes whole families. The Sadicev family was of note. That was put into the war crimes registry at Nuremberg, I believe, or independently submitted by the Soviet government. Anyway, very tragic, sad story there. But this old man told me, he survived on basically, I guess, millet and farina, something like that, porridge, maybe a bit of milk. And he was a baby, though, so his caloric requirements were, very slight compared to an adult. And he obviously wasn't working, so he didn't die, of starvation. Here, he survived, but he told me that after the war, that's like 1945 to like 1950, I believe he said, he would play with his classmates, the kids in the neighborhood, and they would have to rest up against the wall because, they were anemic. Their faces would be flushed and they'd be out of breath. And they died, when they were just children. And this was after the war. And, I have to wonder, I tried to look up, I couldn't find the figures concretely, but, I have to think that the U.S. had, so much surplus food, or, I didn't hear anything about the U.S. sending food to the Soviet Union after the war. And, 1948, it was like they were attacking and threatening, just like they are now. And so, these children basically, for lack of food aid, because they were red devils, that was worse in some ways than being an African or, not to get into the weeds in terms of comparative famines from 1945 to 1955, but I think there were certain countries, especially, let's say, Latin America, where U.S. imperialism was sending food aid, but here, no, because, this, for the same reason, the capitalists starved this city, starved a third of it, and the German fascists had a plan to basically just level this city, absolutely destroy it, and that's why they starved the city. And, a third of the population, 1 million people. You can go, where is it? Like north of here, to the Piskarovskoye, I believe it's called, cemetery, and there are mass graves of like 500,000, something like that, maybe a little under, but something like 500,000 Leningrad citizens. And, this was the place where, you had the most conscious workers and intellectuals, and, these fucking capitalist fucking vermin, all the way from London, through to Berlin, to Budapest, to Riga, Tallinn, they wanted nothing more than to murder, the revolution and the revolutionaries here. And over time, they succeeded in murdering enough people here, 27 to 30 million people in this country, the former Soviet Union. And, ultimately that destroyed, the revolution. But, the revolution still lives on. And, these fucking liberal scum freaks, now they're attacking, the populace in England, who are basically in the masses in England, who are rioting and demanding that, these migrants, it's an abomination that basically, from the time of the First International, 1860, and, England, etc., Europe, Western Europe, the second plank of the First International was no importation of foreign strikebreakers. The first plank was international solidarity. And the lenin scum, like Lenin said, they flipped that on its head. And basically, as Lenin said, we need a united socialist states of Europe, And as the Soviet and Warsaw Pact states practice, we need internationalism, but a united capitalist states of Europe, as was built after the destruction of the country here, the Soviet Union, that would be a monstrosity, Lenin said. And that's what it is. These fucking liberals like Starmer, disgusting, or Macron, or Obama, vomit. That, they preach this, nasty multiculturalism, and part of that is we hate the native working, especially the working class population. Yeah, they're a threat. And you look around here in Russia, and that's all you see practically are workers, and that's what, there was some talk of just, hey, if we could, like some filthy EU bureaucrat was talking about how, well, we only need X million Russians to operate the oil and the gas, extraction equipment, murder the rest of them, exactly like what the Nazis intended to do. And that's what these liberals are. They're basically the grandchildren of the Nazis. And, even FDR, as I commented on this stroke, Corey, I don't know what the hell his name is, some Jew with money. Some fucking left liberal fucking Jew with money. He was trying to talk up the Democrats. And I'm like, in 1943, Jan Karski went to FDR to beg for the lives of the remaining Jews. And FDR said, fuck the Jews, kill them all. Because you look around here, and one of the martyr who's buried in this monument here, his middle name is Gurevich, same as my grandmother's last name. And, there's others, Uritsky, Moise, Solomonovich, Uritsky. He was the head of the Committee of Public Safety in this town, and he was murdered by one of the fucking friends of scum like FDR, or scum like Biden, or Harris, or Starmer. But, we basically crush them here, and we're crushing them around the globe. It's wonderful. Your imperialist, project is going down the toilet, Obama and Starmer and Macron. Africa's kicking you out. It's wonderful. And the Iranians, well, we'll see. Israel, the Zionists, those other freaks, bourgeois, imperialist collaborator freaks. Our people, the Jews, we were fucking communists, or we at least supported the Soviet Union. Or even if you were like my grandparents and you were Mensheviks, you were Bunds, you didn't support, Israel. That was a utopian freak project. So, but it's all going down the toilet for these fucking hyenas, led by Harris, the laughing hyena. So, it's wonderful, to be here in the center of the world revolution 100 years ago that still inspires, everyone around the globe to, just, grind down the imperialist murderers. So, have a nice day, everyone.